Hello, Anna.
Hi again, back again with more speakers. Very
We
excited.
are. It's very exciting, and we are now, we're well over halfway now into the conference program, and I think the Twitter account has just nudged past 1,000 followers.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's
Good
really cool. It's
start.
great to see that people keep joining the event as we go through the week, which of course is freely available to anybody at any point to register, but also we'll have content available for catch up afterwards. So if you have missed any sessions, you can join again afterwards. And I think it's particularly helpful that the poster sessions are also freely available because they're all videos and there's lots of them, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. And they're really easy to access just by going to the website and having a look through, which I did this morning. And there's lots more to learn. I couldn't fit it all in one go, so I had to I'll have to definitely come back and have a little nosy again later. But yes, great stuff.
It's definitely worth having the yoga sessions in the middle of the day because I think there's so much screen time that you definitely need some time where you can just stretch a bit.
I think we definitely should get involved with this at some
We
point.
should.
Yes, we need to stretch a bit more than being at the desk at the moment. So yeah, I'd encourage that maybe tomorrow.
Definitely. And we've got a couple of people joining us today. So let's welcome in Amaka and Michelle. Good to see you both.
Hello.
Hi.
So it's great to have you back with us, Michelle. How's your week going?
Oh, it's been really good. I mean, like you said, busy. I did do the yoga at lunchtime. I just needed to breathe, stretch out a little bit. But yeah, today's been the mitigation day, so it's been really good, really my cup of tea.
Yeah, what's been the highlights for you so far?
Well, I suppose in my own session, there was some like really good other speakers, like quite a wide range of talks. Like we had one about like carrot and stick for active travel. So what works better? So that was interesting. And ones about solar panels, putting solar panels on lakes. Really interesting talks.
Wow, okay. And how about yourself, Amaka? So we know that you're obviously speaking to us from Nigeria, which is really exciting, but also you're a social media ambassador. So what's been your highlight? And maybe just give us a quick, explanation of how you've become an ambassador.
Okay, my highlight so far has been pertaining for today's live tweets that I was engaged in about the topic was mitigation solutions, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so the last speaker was where my interest was, especially, climate change. We're more focused on mitigation solutions, like trying to get to net zero and having lower carbon. So he was talking about how the society can adapt to more of electricity and burning carbons, and that's my key interest. Yeah,
That's great.
And Michelle, did you have a presentation or how did it go?
I did, yeah. Well, I pre-recorded mine because I was a little bit worried about my internet connection because it drops out occasionally, normally during Teams calls. So I pre-recorded it. So it was, that was fine. It was they were only 7 minutes long, the presentation, so it was real quick fire. But it was, it was a great session, like I said before. And actually, there was some nice there was a nice flow from the beginning to the end, and the speaker after me, Matthias Hoeniger, he brought up some issues of carbon dioxide removal, which sort of followed on from what I was talking about as well. So like thinking about methane emissions and offsetting with CO2 removals, and how you think about that. Is that a fair thing to do? If you have land-based, different sectors providing different solutions, and he was talking about some kind of similar ideas, really, in terms of like carbon dioxide removal basically being like cleaning up the atmosphere. So this is kind of a public service, and it was just really nice to try and think of these things kind of clearly, in a kind of, what is this for, who should be doing it, or how do we frame it, because it is a public good, but then it's come from certain sources. So yeah, so it's just been a really thought-provoking session, really.
Sounds good. What about you, Anna? What did you go and see just before this?
Oh, what did I go to see?
Yeah, didn't you?
I just, like, you know me, I'm in two places at once. So I went to the race for net zero also, and I've caught just sort of the end session where everyone was discussing things, which was interesting. Obviously, it's going to be much of a collective effort again, obviously. And also before that, I was in the engaging peoples as agents of change, which was interesting because, you know, we're talking about lots of people in terms of student ambassadors. And so, you know, that's interesting as well, because we're obviously got Amaka here as well, because you are, you know, a social media ambassador. So what, for you personally, do you feel that Nigeria has the major concerns for Nigeria? What do you feel that they might be?
Well, to be very honest, there are very few people who are more interested in climate change in my country because there are no awareness for this particular problem. And it's not like climate change is, it's a one-sided thing. It's a global problem, but and we need like global collaborations to maybe reduce its effects or mitigate it entirely. But it's really difficult in instilling those plans here in my country. And like the senior lecturer from Ghana was talking about how the finances are not going to be enough for some poor African countries. It's really a very big problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of challenges.
Yeah, this certainly has come up in a lot of the sessions. Michelle, I'm not sure if you've heard too much about these, but certainly the questions around sort of climate justice and making sure there is sort of a recognition that not everyone's in the same place to respond.
At the same time, yeah. It's not
Yeah.
really, it's not going to be very easy for everybody at the same time to respond to it, because the developing countries and developed countries are not on the same phase of burning carbons. Like you get more of carbon, people burning carbons in Nigeria more than other countries.
Yeah. Michelle, how do you see it? Because I guess the questions of climate justice are really crucial going into COP, especially where you are sort of expecting to bring some consensus around how to deal with the challenges. How do you see it?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, this is a really big issue because CO2 is so permanent once you've released it. So, you know, in the UK, we do think about how well we're doing in terms of cutting our emissions, and that is great progress. But all those emissions that have been emitted since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, they're still kicking around the climate system and keeping our temperatures higher. So that is a really important point to be thinking about. You know, reducing emissions is great, you know, but I suppose another question is, if, say, in the UK we can get our emissions down to zero or net zero of CO2, that still leaves all the carbon we've chucked into the atmosphere in the past. And so this is where you might start to think about removals or other methods, or working globally to try and help other countries. So it's a really important area, and I think the COP discussions will certainly be thinking about that, although it may be a little bit of a political hot potato, let's say, thinking about emissions that were put into the atmosphere 100 years ago.
Yes, it's very difficult, isn't it? And this is why we've been talking, there's been a lot of talk in general about collaboration and the importance of students, really, because we're at the forefront now to suddenly go forward with things. And we have, a vested interest in being the next generation to actually cause change. And so we're talking about the importance as well of university collaboration and the openness around developing this resilience together. So it's it's important that we're all here, we're all doing it, and there's so many universities are involved. I don't know if you found that from other talks that you've been to as well, other sessions you found where the students are and what they're talking about too. And again, trying to take individual actions. And so I'd like to ask you both, what are you doing in terms of like your own individual action? What do you feel you could do or contribute yourself or trying to do?
Should I go first?
Yes, anybody is welcome.
Okay. On my own part, for now, I'm not really committed to probably any organization or community fighting against climate change, though I've worked in the past like internships with some agricultural industries who are more keen in global food security and climate change mitigations. But presently, like I was telling Andy via the email, that I'm not attached or affiliated to any organization at the point, but I'm more committed in advancing my education in sustainable agriculture and food security, where I know that, okay, climate change will be definitely discussed. And at least I'm going to be like widening my horizon on issues related to climate change and how it affects the agricultural industry globally and locally.
See, that answer yourself there in itself is huge. I mean, some people are literally just switching to a different type of toothbrush, and that's about as far as they've managed so far. So incredible. Don't worry about it. I think you're doing a great job, and keep doing it. And there are so many people saying this today as well in the student sessions about how they want to go out and be joined with other communities and also other organizations and NGOs. So there is opportunity there right now to go and do that. And it's great that we can embrace that. And I think it's a great time in order to do that. And what you're saying there is exactly an example of that, really.
I think that's brilliant, because really we've talked in some other sessions about this. We need the workforce. So now we need to make this transition. I think we mentioned this on Monday, and it was in one of the earlier sessions today. People need to go out there and be working in the energy transformation, in the transition to net zero. And so that really is, I think, the biggest thing that anyone can do, if they're able to. And, that's just the biggest thing, really. We can all do what we can in our individual lives, depending on what we're capable of, what we have the provision to do, but it's much more important, I think, to be really get in there and work on these problems.
Definitely. And there is one thing that if you're 18 to 30 years old, you can do, which is contribute to the Act Now film campaign, which we launched yesterday, and we've been showing in these social lives. So we are unfortunately out of time again. The sessions are about to begin within the platform. So thank you once again, Michelle, for being here for the second time. And thank you, Amaka, for joining us all the way from Nigeria. So I hope to see you both soon.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In November 2021, the UK will host the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Glasgow, also known as COP26. The COP26 summit will bring together international government negotiators, decision makers, and policy makers to discuss how they should accelerate action towards stopping climate change. From small island states to countries with rapidly growing urban areas, representatives from 197 countries are expected to join the summit. We, the young people living across the planet, have the opportunity to tell these decision makers why stopping climate change is important to us, the future generations, and everyone's voice matters.
So we're making a film, all of us. Please tell us what matters most, and we'll bring your perspective into the frame. Tell us what is important to you and how leaders can change so that they can lead the change we want to see in our world. If you're 18 to 30 years old, submit your video on Twitter, Instagram, or Weibo of up to 2 minutes in high definition using the hashtag ActNowFilm. Your video submission should include the following points: your first name and country, why is climate change important to you, what do you think is the most important change that needs to be addressed in climate change, are you a part of any group or organization, if so, where is it and what does it do, what pledge will you take to address climate change, and what would you most like to say to the global decision makers at COP. For more details, please follow on Instagram, Twitter, or Weibo, where you will find everything you need.
Here's your chance to show the negotiators what action you are already taking and what action you'd like them to take.